Deltarune Chapter 5 releases in under 48 hours, and as I cannot make a video in such a short amount of time, I have decided to have a relatively unscripted ramble about my predictions for the future chapter. They will be in no particular order, and the video will be barely edited, with little to no visuals and very uncut speech. I hope you enjoy yourself. First of all, I would like to put my whole hand on the table and say that Friend will be important. Friend is an important character, and to say that it won't be is just genuinely pure, I don't want to say stupidity, but I do want to say stupidity because, well, I don't know, like, clearly it's being foreshadowed, it's stalking us like Flowey did from Undertale, and so, like, you know, to have it just, oh, it's just like a generic depths creature. Looking at you, spooky dude. I don't know, it would just be a bit lame. This is honestly what it is. You can also link a Friend to cat petters without the sweepstakes, may I add. The link is simple. Under Asriel's bed is the cat petters RPG that has gel pen on it. In the mic fight, it says it smells like gel pen, and the mics have mini games, and in one of the mini games, Friend appears, and in that same minigame, it uses the freedom motif that all the secret bosses use, minus the knight, but the knight's a special case. So, you know, it's pretty easy to assume that that Friend is involved with the secret bosses and, you know, maybe gave them their crystals, or, you know, it's definitely in some way related. I definitely think we're getting Friend in this chapter. It's, like, beyond obvious. Like, calling this chapter the Field of Pink and Gold, and then not having it, like, relate to the weird guy with pink and gold eyes that's been stalking you the whole game is just, like, I don't know. It's tricky Tony tier stuff. It's just lying for the sake of, ooh, gotcha, suckers. Like, I don't know, like, yeah, it's like, I don't know, I think my thoughts on Friend are, in order to introduce Gaster, I think you just sort of need a middleman, in a way. Like, you can't just say, I'm Wing Gaster, the royal scientist, because that, it feels a bit brazen to the lore head, and utterly confusing to the average player. So, you know, you make this, like, evil guy, you know, oh, I'm the one who kidnapped Noelle's sister, and the average player goes, oh, this is like an evil guy, and then, you know, later you learn, ooh, I have a master who created me, who's above all of this, and then you're, oh my god, the mysterious voice, it's Wingdings Gaster from Undertale, what the fuck? Eggs. Not sure about the eggs, I'll be honest. The eggs, nobody can predict the eggs, if I'm being honest. Yeah, like, the eggs are the least predictable part, the Chris's backstory. Somebody pointed out that there's a decent chance that Chris is, like, mental blocking a part of the hometown. There's like a load zone where, like, the buildings don't match up, like, before and after it, so it could be like that's where something traumatic is, and so Chris just sort of mental blocks it out, and, like, maybe completing the egg quest allows you to see this, and you meet the Forgotten Man in the Light World. Hey, maybe that's where the Chapter 5 egg room is, the Light World egg room. That would be hype moments in Aura. Like, if you have all 4 previous eggs, when you try to go through that load zone, you just get sent to the egg room. Wouldn't that scare the shit out of you? Yeah, I can't say much about the eggs. It's just impossible to predict. Secret boss. allegedly this will be the last secret boss, or at least the last secret boss to give you a shadow crystal. I've got 3 people in mind. First one is Friend. As I said before, Friend's giving out the shadow crystals. It seems like a pretty obvious candidate. I do think Friend will be a plot mandatory encounter. And you think, oh, well, Toby's already done that, Tricky Tony's, he's already done the Knight, right? Well, I think, me personally, the way it'll work is, the way the Knight work is, you think it's like a cutscene boss, where like, oh, you can't actually win this fight, but, you know, if you do the secret quest and get the item, you can beat it. Well, you know, I have done it just today, not to show off or anything, but it is still very hard. I think Friend will also be a cutscene boss, but it'll be a cutscene boss where you don't actually ever enter a fight, right? Like, you know, it'll, after whatever happens with Asgore and, you know, you talk him down, Friend shows up and goes, oh, I'm Friend, it's friending time, right? And then, like, it kicks your ass because it's, like, Penumbra Phantasm Depths device creature. But if you complete the secret quest and have the, I don't know, the Friend mantle, it can't defeat you instantly, and you actually have to fight a battle with it. I think that'll be a good evolution of the Knight secret, but then we'd get 10 million more years of Chapter 3 secret boss discourse, so, you know, maybe that would be bad. It could be a Kara parallel. I think that is also decently likely, you know, with Spampton Neo and Gerson. I think, you know, having a Kara parallel, you know, pretty likely, you know, all the flowers, not to spoil a later point, but they do seem to be the fallen humans, so, you know, having a Kara one would make sense. And, you know, people want to know about Kara. You know, one of my theories was that one of the points of bunkering Des was in order to, I don't know if groom's the right word, because, you know, that's associated with, like, Diddy-foid activities, to put it in a YouTube-friendly manner. But, you know, basically, no, groom is the right word. Groom Chris into being more like Kara so that we as the vessel would fight them. I'm not so sure about that. I don't think so. It's a bit fan-fiction-y, but I think that's also the point. Like, I think, you know, with, like, Gerson and, you know, Spampton Neo, Gaster was a bit like, ooh, my player, I loveth thee so. I will give you what you want, so your hope may shine upon my Deltarune, and we can fucking Chapter 7. Another idea I recently had is Shawn. Because, like, you know, they're the one who we're giving the Shadow Crystal to, so how like, crazy would it be, like, if you have all, like, 4 previous Shadow Crystals, you go to Shawn, like, after the Dark World. I'm not sure. I kind of feel like there won't be an After the Dark World, but, you know, there might be. You can't predict this sort of stuff. They'll be like, oh, you didn't get a Shadow Crystal there. Well, that's because I already had it. I could give it to you, but you'll have to prove yourself. And then it's like a secret boss in Castletown. Whoa, wouldn't that be cool? I think getting more Shawn more would be cool, because they're neat. Mini bosses, Apple, Girlington, and Friend Inside Me. It's going to be them. They're going to be there, you know. This is the last fun chapter before the Penumbra Depths burst from the earth and kill us all. So I think Tricky Tony will give us what we want. He'll give us Friend Inside Me. Andrew Hussey has been non-stop talking about Apple Girlington. I think it's a sign. What if we get the Togor flower? Okay, I'm locking that in. There's going to be a Togor flower. It's going to be like there's like an Azrael flower, and then there's like a one-off gag where it's like, I'm the knockoff of the Azrael flower. My name's Togor. I've already talked about the 7 flower bastards. They're going to be fallen human soul parallels. We're going to learn about the 7 humans from Undertale. Chapter 5 will be Undertale Slop. If the fucking Cyan Soul Knife attack wasn't, like, giveaway enough, there's, like, Toby just released a thing where he's like, 10 years ago I made this song with the hope of Chapter 5, and then, like, the the fucking visuals is like it's scrolling through all the fair. Look at me. Night, the night, roaring night. I better keep my ass in chapter 3 or I'm cooked. Might be in this one. As has been said before, chapters 3 through 5 were meant to be one, and 3 night chapters in a row. Well, I guess chapter 3 isn't really a night chapter, but 2 night chapters in a row where they heavily focus on the night would be a bit much. So, it would be, it would be like chapter 3, fun, the night appears. Chapter 4, the night. Chapter 5, trying to ignore the night, and then, the fucking evil friend Hellcat appears. While we're on the topic of what the night will do, roaring. It's gonna be the roaring. Everybody knows that the roaring is coming. None can stop it, obviously. I'd be genuinely flabbergasted if the roaring doesn't happen. It's either the roaring or the shelter, and I think they honestly both might happen. My personal just throwing a shot out there is okay, so getting a bit off ahead of it, but I reckon we'll go to Flower King because in the festival, Noel will let sleep Asgore used to be the police chief, so he'd have all the codes, and Fuzi's like, oh, well, we gotta go to your dad's flower shop, Chris, and then there'll be a dark world there, and when we beat the dark world, we'll have all the shelter codes, we'll go to the shelter, but then the night will be there, and then the roaring will start. My personal guess, it could be anything, it could literally be anything. What will the roaring look like? If I had to put my money on something, I'd say something like the purified zones from Off, where it's just like a blank, barren world with not much. They've said, chapter 6 is surprisingly easy to make compared to everybody else, and I think that's just because there's gonna be not many overworld gimmicks or mini games. It's just gonna be a grayscale sort of hellscape with just battles and stuff. I think in the course of the roaring, we're also going to learn that some of Hometown is an artificial in some way. That's just been such a good concept that I've seen floating around. The bird guy definitely is, the fading Rudin in Castletown. Jockington, it would be so funny. There's that stupid line of dialogue that's been pre-revealed where he's this event is the trigger. Yeah, and my name is Penumbra Gorna Depths Roaring Phantasm. Yeah. It feels likely that in order to parallel that Deltarune is a video game, some of it will be fake in universe for the characters to be even though our world is fake, we still matter. And I don't know where I was going with that. Listen, I'm just basically copying a point that's made in the Cressel video. You should know the one if you're watching this video. Where are we next? Maybe this could be considered cope. We're getting the Des backstory. I think I don't know if we'll get a night review. You'd hope, so people shut up on Twitter. But we're almost definitely getting Des backstory. It's probably even going to parallel that scene in New Home where it's you keep encountering monsters, but they never fight you. They just tell you the tale of Asriel and the tragedy of the kingdom. I think even if we don't get a night review where they say my daughter is the night, because personally I don't think Carol knows. I think there will be evidence that unless you're an insane contrarian, will prove without a shadow of a doubt that Des is the night. I think Asriel will show up before the roaring and probably drop a humongous lore bomb, probably about Des or something. I think we're also seeing Papyrus. Just because I just was reminded that Sans says in chapter 2, maybe you'll see my brother when your brother gets home. Actual Dark World plot. I think Rousey, because obviously the theme of this chapter is like, let's just try to ignore the impending apocalypse and have a little bit of fun before we're fucked. So I think I've always thought about this. Asgore is a sort of sentimental person. He's trying to go back to the past. He's trying to get his bitch wife back from that chud that works at the grocery store. And he wants to look backwards. He wants to ignore what's coming. And I think Rousey will be enamored by that. It was like, oh, I it's like he's always tried to ignore the prophecy, and Asgore helps with that. So, he might. I think there's going to be a lot of. I mean, I don't want to say a lot of conflict because there was already a lot of conflict in the last chapter, and I don't want to say it's like rehashing, but like, I feel like the Inferno of Jealousy might actually be between like Rousey and Susie. I think they might just get in like a bit of a spat about like, should they like try to have fun or should they like lock in? I'm not 100% sold. I still think the Inferno of Jealousy is at least partially Asgore getting cucked. I don't think he will be allowed to have his aura because he's a chud, low-key, genuinely. Oh, sorry. I could have paused that. And I think on the topic of Rousey being enamored by Asgore's like being stuck in the past in a way, I think we're getting Noelle back in the Dark World. Like, it almost has to be now, unless it's like, oh, my name is Chris and I found Noelle in the roaring apocalypse. Let's team up. Like, I'm pretty sure there is going to be, because we're at the festival with Noelle. I think she comes with us. Like, Susie obviously tries to like get her to go away, but then she like comes into Flower King and falls into it. And then like after, I think Rousey will leave us at some point. I feel like, because obviously there's a Rousey photo edited thing from the. I assume you know all this stuff. I'm going to be honest, and I think maybe it'll be us, Susie, and Noelle for a while Rousey does his thing. I don't know. And about Flower King, people say it's an Asgore thing. I think it's a Carol thing, right? Like, Asgore. So, my vision for it, right, is Noelle tells Susie, oh, well, Chris's dad had the shelter codes because he used to be the police chief. And she's like, oh shit, well, we gotta go to Flower King. And then, like, Chris, like, pulls himself aside, pulls out the soul, and is like, Carol, we are so fucked. And so, with the night being assumedly unable to go outside during the day, Carol has to go to Flower King herself and make the Dark Fountain because she can't trust Asgore to do it because he's a lower level flunky in her whole operation. And I think that's why Flower King is Japanese, because, listen, some people on Twitter, they say, I see Carol as waging because she has high expectations for her daughter. Listen, I don't normally get involved in this kind of stuff. I think it is infinitely funnier if Carol is just LARPing being Japanese. It would be really, 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 really funny. Anyway, I think that's why the Dark World is Japanese. I didn't expect it to be Japanese. The fuck was that? Oh no. Yeah. Oh. We have to hold it. No? Oh. And my final prediction to the Dark World is 10 billion Undertale parallels. Like, it's kind of obvious, but like, it's the Asgore chapter with the 7 human soul flowers. It's probably gonna have a bunch of Undertale parallels. Yeah, that's all the predictions off the top of my head. I will say I need to get off my chest about how I think the knight and friend work. I think Spampton was right in his secret boss, where he talks about like, oh, Chris, if I had your soul, I'd be able to look out past the dark world and join heaven. I think a darkness can manifest in reality, probably with the power of a shadow crystal. I think how it works is, the way I envision a dark fountain working, right? I think I've said this in my other video about like friend, but you know, nobody watched that. So the way it works is a dark fountain spews out its dark juices, and every object in the room absorbs them, and that's what turns them into a darkener. But some darkness with like shadow crystal penumbra powers can absorb more darkness than they need to manifest. And so if they leave the dark world, they're still manifested as a darkener. But you know, they need to enter a dark world to charge back up, which is why, like, you know, that's why we see Friend in every dark world, because it's just hiding there to charge up its darkness so it doesn't turn back into whatever object it's based on, like probably Noelle's piles of Noelle's discarded cat petters. But you know, and like my biggest evidence for this is when you fight the knight, before like the battle starts in its opening cutscene, it does like a Dragon Ball like key charge being like, but the noticeable thing is like in Dragon Ball, like the energy around it, like they're emitting that. It's like that's the light of the key. I haven't really watched Dragon Ball that much, but noticeably, when the knight does it, you can see it's sucking in energy. It's like it's charging up from the dark, and that's what gets it ready to fight, because you know it's just been in the light world. That's why we never see it during the day, because like if like a creature like that would be hit by like direct sunlight, it'd like burn up all its darkness instantly and like demanifest. So like they have to go outside at night, or like, you know, in like on like a cloudy day, which is what, you know, what chapter 4 is. So like that's why this fountain's able to be made in the day, you know. And I assume that's like why it would have been like, I don't know. Another thing, I think, I was going to make like a proper video on this, but I'm lazy and I never got around to it, is I don't think Chris has a shadow crystal like from before the game, but I think they've definitely like glimpsed behind the curtain, you know, maybe that be in the bunker or just at some point, because I think chapter 3 is the only fountain we know they created, and as we know from Susie's fountain, like the fountain reflects the person who made it. So isn't it weird that chapter 3 specifically has Tenor, who significantly breaks with the art style of the rest of the game, and everything in his dark world, not everything, but like a lot of the stuff is just like PNGs of stuff. Like there's a PNG of a Christmas tree. There's like PNGs of like gacha balls and stuff. Like, you know, you see like fire.png and like the Doom board. Like, isn't that like a strange thing if you like look at it from like the perspective, like if Chris doesn't know about like a world above their own, why that there? Like, because it's funny. Like, yeah, it is funny. I like that aesthetic. I like it quite a lot, but like I think it does have a deeper meaning, which is genuinely why I'm against Chris creating the chapter 1 fountain. Even though there are a lot of good thematic reasons why they would, you know, it has the fucking Forgotten Man tree everywhere in the Field of Hopes and Dreams, you know, it has all those parallels between like, you know, Lancer and Susie being with like what possibly like young Chris and Des, but like all of those except for the Forgotten Man tree like could be Des stuff, but the Forgotten Man tree is a big thing, so I don't know. I don't know. Um, Carol as well, right? I'm of the Triple Trucy's opinion that Carol is unknowingly working with the Knight, using Chris as a middleman, right? Or middle they, should I say, to be more politically correct and horridly woke. Because, as pointed out, it would be weird if Carol knew the Knight was her daughter and was working with her, but also, like, the Knight and Carol have conflicting motifs where the Knight is, like, fiery, violent change, and Carol is, like, cold, calm, like, preservation. I just don't think it would make sense, but I have a different theory. If you look at, like, the Triple Trucy's cutscene, right, and think of it as analogous to, like, what actually happened, Chris and Queen. So the deer goes missing, and then Chris and Queen make their first truce. So Des goes missing, and Chris and Carol make a truce to find the deer. Then, out of convenience, Chris has to make a truce with Birdley. Now, I think Birdley, who he's meant to be analogous to, depends on who it is. I think to Queen, Birdley is Asgore, like a sucker you sort of keep around just, because it's helpful to have him there. I think to Chris, though, Birdley represents Susie and Ralsei, right? Like, they're working with them out of obligation, but, across the story, like, Chris actually starts to warm up to, Susie and Ralsei. Like, Chris warms up to Birdley a little bit, I guess. Like, Birdley redeems. It's not a one-to-one, but I think Birdley's the weakest link in a Triple T Tung 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 Sahur theory. But the interesting part is then Chris makes a truce with Noelle, or who represents Des in this scenario. But the interesting part is Chris makes the truce with Des last, even after Susie and Ralsei. So what I think it is the reason Chapter 3 is so weird is what happened is Chris makes a truce with Carol. She's like, Chris, find my December holidays. And so Chris is blackmailed into doing the plan, whatever that may be, unknowable as it is. Chris, seals the Chapter 1 fountain, seals the Chapter 2 fountain, but then is like, this Chapter 2 fountain is giving major December holiday vibes. I gotta see this night for myself. So, devises a bit of a trap. I think Chapter 3 is like a box of a stick for the night, right? Like, if you take the unused mantle, well, no, it is used. If you take the mantle minigame into consideration, there's the black monster who, upon changing the toriel value, turns into a deer, right? So, like, one may assume that Toriel was in some way responsible for Des's disappearance, and if you assume that, like, in this new form, Des has become a bit of a violent and, like, not evil, but, like, destructive person, it would be easy to assume that she may hold a grudge. So what happens in the Dark World, Toriel is basically used as, like, bait, right? And, like, I think that's why Tenor could do all the shit he could do, right? Like, if you think about the structure of the Dark World, once you get out of the weird cliffs area, it's it's like the two stages, the green room, the locked room, and then like the snowy oasis where like Toriel is kept and the knight eventually shows up, right? Like when the knight if like Chris and like if the plan, if Chris's plan was like keep Toriel as bait, when the knight shows up go out and confront them, so you know maybe I can see like how conscious Des is. You know, I could run from the stage to like it pretty easily. Like you could probably get there, I haven't tested, in like 30 seconds, like tops. And I think that's also why Tenor is so like all powerful, right? Like I know like people would say, oh, but Chris and the Knight were working together before you know, TV world, you know, like they say it themselves, or well, Tenor says it, but I think, right, like the Knight is treated as like this all like it's the Knight from the prophecy, because all darkness know the prophecy. So like if Chris were to lie to Tenor and say, yo, big man, I'm working with the Knight, you should totally obey my stupid plan, Tenor will be like, whoa, Chris, you're working with the Knight, didn't know you were a big shot, you should, I of course I'll listen to you my original viewer. So like and also, right, like in the fight itself, Chris goes like easy on the Knight, but that's until their friends get knocked down. But like obviously Chris isn't the best pawn in the plan, but like I still think them suddenly trying again once their friends are knocked down is pretty odd. So like if it's like they're thinking in that moment, oh shit, maybe I can't save Des, I need to lock in, like maybe that's the thinking. But I definitely think Des is nearly fully conscious in the Knight suit, or like as the Knight. As somebody else I was sort of talking on the subject said, like it's just more interesting if she's fully like there. Like it'd be kind of boring if it's like, oh, it's actually Friend as the Knight, or like, oh, she's not aware at all. It'd be like, wouldn't it be more interesting if like she had like full control over this and was doing of her own volition for like character reasons, God forbid. Yeah, but anyway, I think that's why Tenor can teleport, right? Like, you know, if push comes to shove, Chris can go, Tenor, teleport, like, us and, like, Susie and stuff to the Knight, and then pull, like, Toriel away. Like, I think that was their plan, you know, but obviously Tenor was killed. Oops. Onto another topic. ERAM is almost 100% Friend. It's like any other answer would feel kind of weird. Like, yeah, a mysterious entity leaves you a pink and yellow controller that lets you play the sword route, and you know it talks about Chris's past, and like, you know, the Shadow Mantle mysteriously went missing. You know, who could have gone between Dark Worlds and stolen it, right? It's Friend. It's obviously Friend. Like, I don't know, like, maybe, like ERAM, like, maybe, like, Friend is controlling ERAM, but, like, ERAM is, like, a representation of the pawn headband. Like, maybe that's what Friend is. Did you consider that, libtards? Did you consider that friend is the work left doesn't want you to consider that friend might be the horned headband. You know, it could be themes and such, if you would consider. Alright, that's almost all I have for now. I will make one final, true, and honest prediction. Hope crossed on my heart filled with hope and light, etc. We're seeing Gaster, baby. We're seeing him. He's gonna be there. It's not just gonna be the shiny text that says, "Ooh, my Deltarune." We will see his face and he will say, "Ooh, how very, very interesting. It's me, Dr. Diggs." I don't think it'll be like that, but I think at the very least he will be mentioned. We might even see him. We'll see green. He'll green all over the place. I can't wait to see Gaster in less than 48 hours. May your Deltarunes be tomorrow. I'll see you at the live stream. Adios.